How did Jews fare in medieval Germany? The recent Israel-Palestine conflict has triggered a global surge in anti-Semitism, prompting many people, just like you, to explore the roots and historical origins of this hatred. This video, however, aims not to delve into the ancient history of anti-Judaism, but to focus on a specific and often misunderstood period, the life of Jews during the Middle Ages in the Holy Roman Empire. If one were to inquire about the treatment of Jews during this time, common historical notions would likely include their confinement to ghettos, frequent city bans, as well as constant mistreatment, exploitation, and murder. But was that actually the case? Let's take a look. The history of Jews in German lands can be traced back to the 10th and 11th centuries as the first Jewish communities migrated from the Iberian Peninsula and the French Kingdom into the HRE. The original migration from predominantly Muslim territories in southern Spain to Christian lands was motivated by the perceived dynamism and potential of the area, as well as the willingness of French kings and Holy Roman emperors to settle Jews on their territories, accompanied by various privileges, which further facilitated this move. These privileges, encompassing trading and bonding rights exceeding those of Christian Germans, were in essence a means for emperors to heavily tax and enrich themselves, as Jews basically relied on them for their own safety and protection. A fascinating and often overlooked aspect is the granting of privileges not only by emperors, but also by smaller secular, local authorities such as dukes, counts, and margraves, as well as, and this might be really surprising to some of you, bishops and even the popes. Bishops were often not only heads of monasteries, but also heads of the city in which the monastery is, which is why they frequently invited Jews to settle in those cities, with the objective, of course, of leeching off their financial success as much as possible. The Pope's involvement, however, was a little bit different, as it reflected the broader power struggle between secular and religious authorities during the investiture dispute in the 12th century especially, which was driven by the desire to expand the papal influence overall. That all being said, one might argue that this basically confirms that Jews were exploited from all sides through taxation. Well, yes, that is true, but it's also crucial to note that authorities at least demonstrated the foresight not to tax them into financial ruin, evidenced by the steady growth of Jewish population throughout the medieval period. When shifting to the topic of violence, the Rhineland massacre in 1096 during the First Crusade is a pivotal event, where Jews faced the choice of conversion to the Christian faith or death. Thousands lost their lives, particularly in Mainz, Speyer, Worms, and Cologne, which were home to some of the oldest and biggest Jewish communities in Germany. Despite the tragedy, it remains the first outbreak of violence that we know of against Jews in the Holy Roman Empire, confined exclusively to the Rhineland. The brutality of the events can be attributed to the distant response of secular rulers and the flawed protection strategies of city-ruling bishops. Subsequent crusades exhibited less religious hatred toward Jews, with bishops developing improved protection strategies. Interestingly, the Jewish communities in the before-mentioned cities were able to rebuild themselves quite quickly after the events, which proves only that they still had hope for the future living there. However, the First Crusade wasn't a singular instance of aggression towards Jews. A troubling trend emerged around the mid-12th century, beginning when Jews in Würzburg were accused of murdering a Christian, resulting in the execution of 20 Jewish suspects. Accusations and rumors that Jews would crucify Christian children and use their blood for ritual purposes, as well as the rumor that they would steal and destroy the sacred Christian host Rafa, were piling up over the following centuries, resulting in sporadic executions and bans of Jews. Those rumors were also laying the foundation for anti-Judaism in the modern period. While such accusations were sporadic in the late Middle Ages, the increasing danger urged Jews to further isolate themselves and their religious practices inside the city districts. In medieval cities, Jews often had their own districts, some even walled off, which was however not seen as an enclosure, but as a privilege for their own safety. These districts allowed, for example, also for self-governance of internal affairs. However, in many cases, Jews were living also outside of those districts, and Christians sometimes inside of those districts. And also, to the topic of walls, they were in general not an exception only for Jews, but a prominent feature of many medieval cities to better protect certain districts from outside danger. Furthermore, when we talk about the topic of the common relations between Jews and Christians, many historic sources prove that those close relationships existed, be it Christians attending Jewish weddings or Jews mourning at Christian funerals. We also have documents that show how clerical authorities tried to stop Christians from bathing, eating, partying, and even copulating with Jews, as it was seemingly perceived as a danger to the Christian faith. Which leads us to note that despite the violent portrayals dominating historical narratives, daily interactions, friendships, and business dealings between Jews and Christians were commonplace, but sadly often unrecorded. The late medieval period witnessed a worsening situation with the Rindfleisch and Armleder pogroms in the 14th century, coupled with a loss of central power to protect Jews and economic instability affecting the entire population. Animosity towards this outsider community intensified. The Black Death in the mid-14th century saw large-scale executions fueled by the belief that Jews were responsible for the plague, as it was suspected that Jews have been poisoning the water supply of the cities. And despite the emperor vehemently denying accusations and forbidding executions after an investigative commission, violence persisted, reflecting the sense of impending doom. Only in the 15th century did banishments and ghettos, however, start to emerge. Some cities replaced Jewish districts from central positions to the outskirts of the city walls. Many cities, however, entirely banished Jews, prompting emigration further east, where local authorities seemed indifferent to the settlements, leading to the isolated shtetls known in later periods. In summary, violence, discrimination, and exploitation were significant factors in the history of medieval Jews in the HRE. However, these were only one facet of a multifaceted story. For most of the medieval period, Jews and Christians were peaceful neighbors, business partners, and even friends, an aspect often overlooked in the historical portrayals. To understand history factually, it's essential to consider both sides, avoiding the creation of narratives that don't reflect the historic reality. With that being said, thank you very much for watching and take good care of yourself. Bye bye.